Lauren, this has been a very emotional week. Between the issue of Uncanny X-Men we're about to read, which, I mean, had me sobbing at the end. I don't know about you, but I was crying. But also, guys, an era has truly come to an end. The very last episode of Real Housewives of New Jersey was aired on Sunday.
Oof. Damn.
And if we can just get a moment of silence. Doesn't have to be a long moment. That was actually enough. Housewives are so important in my life. I know it doesn't matter to a lot of people, but I mean, it matters now. So RIP RHONJ. But let's open ourselves to the positive things that can come, because when we get rid of the old, it opens up space for the new.
Yeah.
And that's how we're going to start today. Hey guys, welcome back to Simply Amazing, the Nightcrawler podcast, where we talk about Nightcrawler, Real Housewives, Barbie, Supergirl, Superman, The Boys. We run the gamut. We run the gamut.
Yeah. For a second, I thought you said we run the Gambit. I was like, we talk about him too. What a coincidence.
We do talk about Gambit a lot as well. So because I do love me some Remy LeBeau. And I mean, he had some of the most iconic lines in Deadpool Wolverine. Can we just not even pretend?
He did. Yeah.
Like I have been like trying to use I shot out of my daddy ready so many times. Like,
oh God.
When it comes to like iconic lines, this year belongs to Gambit, and it belongs to Sage on The Boys, just for calling her pussy Flavortown. So there you go. Well, I'm Lisa, aka the OG Nocturne, and I'm joined by she is resplendent in her, it looks like a cheetah print. Is that cheetah? Or
I mean, it's zebra, I guess, because they're not fully spots, but they kind of are, but it's zebra print colored. So anyways, yeah, I'm in my robe and my back is dying, so I'm vibing.
Yeah, well, you're not the only thing dying, because we have a dead kid to get to pretty soon. So
oh my gosh, oh God, yeah, throw my back problems away. We got kid problems, so
yeah. Well, of course we are here to discuss what we've been manifesting for so long.
Yes.
Gail Simone not only writing X-Men, but writing our boy Nightcrawler. So
another Simply Amazing manifestation. I mean, how good are we? Who's keeping tally, guys? I need a site that all it does is it keeps tally of how many manifestations we get.
Seriously, we got to start thinking about ourselves, because we've been manifesting a lot for the X-Men universe, but like maybe we can manifest ourselves some money, like
yeah, some money, some less health problems. I mean, all these things.
Money, men, and mozzarella. That's what I want.
I love that for you.
I know, cheese is so good. Well, we're going to talk about Uncanny X-Men #1. We're going to just skip over the whole, it's a #1 of a comic that's been going on since the 60s. All right.
Right.
Whatever. But of course, the most important thing is, this is, from the ashes, and we are moving on from Krakoa. And what are the X-Men going to do? What's going to happen? Who's going to do what? Where did Krakoa go? And what Doug is Apocalypse? I don't know, guys. It sounds crazy out there, but we're just gonna talk about Uncanny X-Men.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I just got it. Doug is Apocalypse is like, I don't get it, guys. How did I don't want to turn it into this because I'm like a white girl, but like, how did the most white guy become like an Egyptian pharaoh?
Somebody made a poor decision. Somebody thought it was a genius decision, but it was actually a poor decision.
Yeah, and also like stop connecting all the characters to each other. They don't all need to be connected. Like sometimes that's just your friend from work. And sometimes sometimes that's just your old college roommate. It doesn't mean that like, oh my God, turns out my old college roommate is actually my nemesis's cousin's son. No, it doesn't work that way. Actually, though, it has worked that way sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the X-Men are always connected no matter what. Like I don't know if I sent it to you, Lisa. Maybe I forgot or maybe I did, but I hope I did, but if I didn't, I'll send it to you. There was this image that was sent to me with all the X-Men.
Oh, you did send it to me. I just never looked at it. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Dude, that image hurt my head. It's all these like X-Men characters, and somebody tried to like basically connect them all. It's batshit crazy, dude. I couldn't even get through it all because it hurt my head.
I got to be perfectly honest with you. I saw like the thumbnail of it and how detailed it was, and I was like, "This is going to give me a migraine. I can't do it." And you know what's going to happen? I'm going to go into it, and Nocturne's not going to be on it, and I'm going to be pissed. So
you literally got to take it like square by square of the square. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Also, Gail Simone mentioned Nocturne recently. She's got thoughts on that.
I saw that she quote retweeted someone with that, and I was just like, oh my god, like, and because she said something about, she's like, I really like to, but how do you do it? That's the tricky part. And I'm just like, might do it. I mean, even if it takes a year or two, she might do it, Lisa.
I mean, she might. Someone wrote a fanfic. I think someone wrote a fanfic about like Nocturne coming to Krakoa, and and like the way that she brought Nocturne to Krakoa was basically like Wanda has some weird vision of like Nocturne dying on another level, like in another universe, and then she goes to Kurt, obviously because it's his kid, and is like, we got to do something about this, and they just resurrect her basically, which is like I mean, listen, why not? That could work, but of course we don't have that anymore because Krakoa is gone. But they can always just do it the old-fashioned way,
Lisa says, put them together now.
That's what I'm saying. Like, now that Destiny's got her son back, maybe she wants a grandkid, and maybe she's going to be, doing something about that. But I got to be honest, though, I do not think Destiny wants a grandkid related to Magneto. I think that it would be like, really?
I think that might make her head and her mutant power, which affects her head, explode.
Yeah, here's poll time, actually. Who do you think Destiny has to choose? Either she has Gambit for a son-in-law or Wanda for a daughter-in-law. What do you think she would choose?
Gambit. Wanda,
I think
dangerous.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Gambit too, because it's just like just getting involved in all that bullshit. I can see her being like, no, thank you. And Gambit's way more controllable than Wanda is. Like,
Yeah, and if anything, like from how Destiny sees him, she sees him as a nuisance and not good enough.
Yeah,
I don't think she would see Wanda as a nuisance.
Yeah, no, he's the Steve Urkel of her family, basically. It's just like, yeah. So, all right, well, let's actually talk about the comic now. 10 minutes in, and we haven't even talked about the comic. But I don't necessarily want to go page by page. The first part of the story seems to be, about they're turning the Xavier Mansion into prison for X-Men. Yeah. Mutants.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this is laying groundwork.
Of course.
Which makes sense. It's a number one, and it's right after Krakoa has pretty much been destroyed or taken down, or whatever you want to call it. I like the setup with the characters, though, and that's something that is, a Gail Simone trademark. There are other writers that do it too. I think like Kelly Thompson is very character driven with her writing. Gail Simone, I think, is also very character driven. She does a lot of great character work, and a lot of it might just be like, okay, but like this is just this. Why does this matter? But every little thing she does with connecting Rogue and Logan and Gambit, and then Kurt eventually, and all these other characters, every little thing she's doing, to me, like the character stood out the most to me, and the relationship she's building upon and also creating.
Yes, it's going to be interesting. So obviously this Warden Ellis is like going to be a main bad in the story coming up. And then we've got this Philip character who is some bald guy with crutches. I've heard like some people rumbling, oh, it could be Xavier. And then other people like, no, it's not Xavier. Xavier's going to be like the prisoner. But I guess for me, it's like it's just shifted so tonally quickly to like they were on a utopia and now we're all going to put them in prison. So that's like, okay, where are we going with this? But it'll be, obviously I have a lot of faith in Gail, and I don't think that I think that there's obviously nothing that's like on the page that doesn't make sense. Like it's all gonna lead somewhere. And of course we have their first inmate, who people also think the first inmate is Xavier. So I don't know. Do you have any theories as to who the first inmate is?
I don't think it's Xavier, though. I feel like that would be too obvious. And I feel like I don't feel like she'd set that up, particularly in her first arc. I think she's going to do Uncanny X-Men for multiple arcs. And I don't think the first arc, I don't think she would want it to be where it's like, let me bring Xavier in and he's going to get everybody back together. I think she's very clearly established that Rogue is the leader, even though she
Yeah.
doesn't think she is. You know, she can, part of her journey is establishing herself as a leader. Having Xavier, you know, them save Xavier and all that, in my opinion, for the purpose of the story with this that she's telling, I think it would take away from that. And especially with the introduction, spoiler alert, but this whole thing's spoilers, of at the end of the comic where, you know, you see all these basically new mutants that she kind of, you know, later shared more of on Twitter and things like that. Or at least ones we don't know, right? They're new to us. I really think that she's really trying to build a solid foundation for other characters and the franchise to actually go somewhere a little bit different, rather than, you know, just kind of resetting the status quo to a new, you know, a new but similar status quo. Like I think the X-Men book's attempting to do that, and I think that's the purpose of the X-Men book. It's the titled X-Men book. Uncanny X-Men, though, I think Uncanny X-Men, you know, even in the past, it's been the book where, again, you set the foundations of the characters and the world, and you get to do new things, introduce new characters that you can kind of fall in love with without taking away from the others. So yeah, I don't think it's Xavier. If it is, I just hope it's well written. But to me, I feel like that would kind of defeat the purpose of what she's doing. I think her first arc is setting the characters up, setting the tone for this kind of new X-Men world after Krakoa. And then from there, you know, she can make connections to other books as needed more directly. But
yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, who knows who this prisoner is going to be. I mean, I don't really think it's Xavier either. I feel like that's really obvious.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe it's like nobody that anyone cares about. You know, maybe it's like, I don't know, Toad.
Poor Toad.
I know he gets the shit end of the stick, but you know, he's Toad. So, all right. So we move from there into Logan. I just want to take 1 second and like pause to just talk about how much I love this artist. I really,
David Marquez,
love.
I think, is the artist.
Yeah, I really love this artist. They've done a phenomenal. Like, I think their art. There's something about their art that reminds me of Alan Davis. There's one specific.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, there's like a couple, like one specific Rogue panel I remember seeing. When we come across it, I'll point it out. But like, I remember looking at it and being like, oh my God, there's just something so Alan Davis coded about this. But there's also like something a little bit anime about his style, like especially when we get to the kid with cancer, there's a very like anime style about it. But I think what I'm most impressed with this artist is they managed to kind of like tonally shift their art style based on what's happening. You know, it's like the art style is like slightly more serious when we're talking about, you know, the prison. And then it gets a little bit more cartoony when we're fighting a dragon. And then it's a little more cartoony when we're dealing with this child who's like, and I think that idea of that is to really emphasize that how young this child is, because, you know, so, but yeah, so Logan goes to meet a friend in Mexico. You know, I guess they had a bet who was going to live longer. And, you know, Miguel, guess what? He's a, you know,
oof.
He's a ringer. He's going to win. So sorry about it. But we get it. You know, this, like you were saying about these character driven moments, like it's just one page, but it's like, it tells a story, you know, and it really gives us insight into who Logan is under Gail's, you know, pen. And yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you.
Of course you are, girl. Of course you are.
Exactly. And again, that's why I like so much about Gail's writing. Gail's a great writer in many ways, but my favorite thing she does is she's very attentive to the characters and really developing them as three-dimensional beings rather than just, okay, in this moment, they are this. Oh, now it's this moment, and now they're either the same thing or there's something drastically different. Like, she is very good about building characters that, again, are three-dimensional. And also, at times, even though, like, you have a good character, you know, she's not afraid to show, hey, this character that is good also is thinking about doing a bad thing or whatever, like, because that's normal. You know, it's normal for even good people to think to do bad things and all that. So she does a good job with that. And that's why it is fun to see her write Logan. I did appreciate with how she writes Logan, how all that said, she's still not afraid to just write Logan as he is. Like, he still like basically hits on Rogue at one point. Like,
Oh yeah.
in terms of like, he's basically like, yeah, I'm not blind, you're still hot. And but he says it in such a Logan way, and it just gets brushed off. Nothing becomes of it. It's not a big deal. It's not anything that people should be like, oh my god, they're trying to put Rogue and Logan together. No, it's just, that's just Logan talking. Like, that's just kind of what it is. So
Absolutely. I want to point out that too, like you were saying about how she handles the character voices, because so as far as character voices that you can get annoyingly wrong very quickly, she has picked basically all of them. It's like,
yeah,
I mean, I think the only ones missing are the Guthries, because it's like you have Rogue, who, you know, some writers are very heavy-handed when it comes to these accents, and it can be very annoying. And I find that Gail has done a very good job of like, you can tell who's speaking in each bubble even without looking, just based on their character tics, you know, or their language tics, because, you know, of course, you have Gambit, who's got the Cajun accent, and so she's done a pretty good job of writing out the Cajun accent without like smacking you over the head with it. Same with Rogue and her accent. Later, when Kurt shows up, like we don't get the whole V's for W's and all that stuff. It's just, you know, even Logan's another character who kind of has his own little accent, or, you know, verbal tics like bubs and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, so she's done a very good job of like tempering that. So it's not like over the top, but at the same time, if you were to remove the images and just have the speech bubbles, for the most part, I can really pick out quite well who's who.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't think about it until now, and I think that actually kind of showed how well done it was, because I wasn't thinking, dear God, I get it, Rogue has a Southern voice. Dear God, Gambit got the Cajun, and oh dear God, Logan's calling people bub every 2 seconds, and Kurt, and like, and to me, that's kind of what I would like to see more of, is characters with these accents, like a better job, a more realistic approach to writing them, unless they are just a walking complete stereotype. If that's their character, let that be it. But these characters aren't walking stereotypes. You know, these voices, you know, and their different dialects and things like that, they're part of them, absolutely, and they should still be there regardless. But yeah, I agree. She did a really good job with that, to the point where, I even, you know, flinch, you know, continuing to read all their own different bubbles and how they speak.
And of course, all three of them get together to fight a dragon in a most Claremontian dragon. I have to say, there's just something about this dragon and this fight that like really reminds me of old school Excalibur, and especially where he's like, "Oh, you know, like, I'll have your heads for supper." It's like, oh my God, this is so like that kind of classic.
Yeah, I think
villain
I 100% think Gail did that completely on purpose, and that it was a little homage, because, you know, even just seeing her on Twitter talk about how like her favorite like X-Men runs or whatever were Claremont and Brian. I think that's how you say his last name. I always hear it as Burn in my head, but there's an R there.
No, but it is Burn. Yeah. It's Burn. It's
it is. So you don't say sweet, cool. My brain was right then. So yeah,
it's spelled. It's not spelled the way you would expect Burn to be spelled, but it's Burn. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But and that's a good catch too. And I loved. Yeah. I loved that. It felt more like an X-Men book to me, even with this kind of magical, fantastical element, because even though magic's part of the X-Men, to me, magic, in my opinion, at least, because of what I've read, I'm sure other X-Men fans would disagree, but from my approach and everything as a fan, magic is still a little bit beyond X-Men to me at times. Like, it's kind of like its own separate thing, except for some characters like literal magic and like Kurt even, but she did a great job of making it still work, and like you said, feel like the Claremont kind of style. And the fact that like Gambit was the one that like basically made some bullshit deal with it, that was a lot of fun.
Oh my God. So, well, first of all, the dragon starts out like the library is open and he is reading Rogue to filth. He's like, you're scared, you're young, you're this, you want to be touched, you're desperate for love, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, okay, yeah, we're not all perfect, dragon. I don't know, but I felt very attacked right now. You know, but yeah, they fight this dragon. And of course, I think the main thing the dragon is doing for us right now is the dragon is really setting the, like, giving us these character beats for the characters that become important later, because we find the reason that Rogue restarts the X-Men has a lot to do with what he says about her being, you know, like needing love and needing validation and all these different things. And, you know, she kind of takes on a leadership role reluctantly in fighting this dragon. But, you know, Remy is kind of like, Logan's not going to be the leader and I'm not going to be the leader. So, girl, you're basically it, you know, like, sorry.
Right.
But yeah, but the way they finally defeat the dragon is Remy like makes a deal with him, which is such a Remy thing to do. And yeah, it's a lot happens in this issue, but I don't feel like it's overloaded and I don't feel like it's too much. I feel it like all the different character beats and all the different stories in this issue, they all come together really well, and they give the purpose of the end of the issue, which is of course her deciding to start the X-Men again. But yeah, so not only does Remy strike a deal, Remy also gets a future favor out of the dragon, which is pretty badass.
Yeah, and that's one thing I like too, was that like the way that ended with Gambit doing that, like, you know, Gail could have gone the route of they like cut the dragon's head off somehow, even though it's this big magical being, kind of immoral. They find a way, or, you know, there could be this violent approach or what have you. But, you know, Gail, again, she knows these characters so well, and she's like, why can't Gambit just make a deal with this immortal being? Like, this immortal being clearly gets bored of this shit probably, and Gambit is fucking Gambit.
Yeah.
So
and
it worked out.
There's no reason to think this dragon's not going to come back, because,
right,
you know, I mean, they're setting up shop in New Orleans, which is just a stone's throw away from Mexico, so it's not that far, especially for a dragon, you know. So they beat the dragon. They get a phone call from Scott, and Scott's like, all right, guys, time to do your community service. You know, sorry, guys. Daisy's shaking her butt. Yeah, sorry, guys, time to do your community service. You know, head into to Make-A-Wish and take care of this kid, and Kurt will meet you there. So,
right.
Yeah. And we get a little cutscene of, so we're dealing with Ward and Ellis in the beginning, and she's, you know, bad, and she's going to put the mutants in jail. Now we have like mutant hunters who are like hunting down, but like, I don't know, am I supposed to assume that they are connected to Ward and Ellis, or
I would assume so. I mean, even if not directly, like maybe in the long run, it's like, great, we capture him, we bring him to our current boss, and then our boss is going to be connected to her and be like, hey, ship him to our special prison. Like, I would assume.
I guess so, but it just seems very odd that they're setting up this prison in New York, but they're like hunting for mutants in Oregon. It's like, start in your backyard. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there are plenty of New York and New Jersey.
I think it was just, they were just like, let's take their home base. Like, let's get the X mansion from them. If we take this, we're fucking them up. Because she kind of, the Warden Ellis, she made that a point too, because like at one point her lieutenant or sergeant or whatever like pointed out, if we like blow up Cerebro or whatever, like people are going to see, like that is a deal. You know, these things you're asking us, we can do them, but we're gonna have public attention. And she literally references like, you know, some terrible shit, like I think something, you know, like Nazis or something equivalent to such a thing. And basically, you know, how it's just like they did shit in public. So guess what? We're gonna do shit in public. And I'm reading this personally, and I'm just like, how did this go for these other groups of people you're mentioning that were like wrong and that like got in trouble for what they did? And those things stopped. Like, where do you think you're going with this, Warden? How do you think you're going to do this any better? But I think that's part of it. Is, you know, they want to make it public. They want to make a statement. She very much wants that.
Yeah, I'm going back to this. Yeah, she was talking about the Soviet gulag.
The Soviet, yeah.
Yeah, and like, you know, the idea of, you know, it's not, you know, capturing the mutants is actually not as important as like sending the message. And so, you know, yeah, so everything should be public. But yeah, well, I don't know, because this other one calls herself mommy and she's got long nails. So like, I guess we'll find out, right?
Everybody's calling themselves mommy and shit nowadays. Maybe it's just because I'm watching wrestling, but like everybody needs to calm down. All right, not everybody.
Everyone calls themselves mommy in wrestling. I don't understand why.
No, not everybody, but like there's there's this one wrestler named Rhea Ripley. She's very popular and she's very good. So there's like a good reason she's popular. But part of the thing, like part of her shtick is that like people call her mommy because she's really hot and stuff. And I'm also just like over it. Like I get why people are into it. We're all horny bastards and it's fun and silly. Why not? But I'm also like, let's move on from the mommy thing. And now another character's being called daddy. I need a nap.
Okay, wait. Is it mommy like MOMMY or
No,
mommy like
it's
MAMI? Okay, that's
Yeah.
different because that's
Right.
like Latin mommy where
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is different mommy for sure. And I was also thinking you were talking about like how like everybody is mother now, like all the gay men call.
Oh, I mean, but
mother.
also that, like, come on. Like, I get it because I do it sometimes too, but also like simmer down, y'all. All right. Pick your top 3 and take a nap. They can
Yeah.
change, but pick your top 3 and take a nap.
I mean, also like if yeah. So so okay, let's get to the part that we've been avoiding, which is the part that made us cry, which is the hospital. Yep. Yeah, of course Kurt's there because I mean Kurt's always gonna, do the nicest thing, and he's of course gonna visit the little boy at the hospital.
Right.
And yeah, apparently like the boy goes by Harvey X. He's a mutant, but like a very, very low level mutant, but he's got cancer and he's not doing well. So he wanted to meet the X-Men and it's super cute. And like he's so excited to see them. He calls Rogue hot. But Logan can tell something's not going right with this kid. So
yeah, Logan's like, y'all need to like make sure this kid's good. And then like, the second like Rogue, like the Rogue feels the kid's touch at one point, she's just like, wait, he's fucking cold. And then that's where Logan he senses it, and he's just like, get your fucking crash car, because the kid has a seizure, the poor kid. And I really liked how Gail wrote the kid again, also realistically. Like this kid isn't like, he's not he's very sweet kid, obviously, and he's innocent that he's a kid, but he's not so innocent that like you said, he called Rogue hot. He didn't just walk and be like, wow, you're so nice. Thanks, Rogue. He was just like, you're fucking hot,
He's 12, like, so he's like a 12-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. So he, and it was written very much like a kid that age would do. And it worked very well. Again, little things like that to me matter so much because it makes that world feel more realistic in a way, but in a way that I feel more like I can escape into. Does that make sense? It feels more human, even though they're mutants. You know?
Yeah. I have a theory that the kid is already dead when the X-Men come.
I think so, because I think it was this kid. There's some new character in the book that Gail posted a little blurb on, like a picture of the character in a blurb. And there is one kid that's associated with death. I can't remember if it's Harvey X or not, but I think it might be.
I don't think it is. I think he's a separate character that shows up at the end. But what I think I'm trying to figure out, like someone explains his powers. Let me just look at this really quickly. Okay. So Nightcrawler talks about it. He's definitely a mutant, low level precog and telepathy. If Xavier is a 10, Harvey is a 1, maybe less. So like he's very, very low level telepathy. I mean, the body could have died and his brain lived longer is one theory. Another theory is that he was like he was already dead, and some malevolent like being has like taken his body over, because we had that whole thing where he has the stroke and he talks about the endling. So I think the biggest thing for me is like Rogue saying that his hand is cold. It's like, I mean, granted, I haven't terribly been around people close to death very often, so maybe my brother can answer this because he works in a hospital. I don't know that your hand would be that cold before death like that, like specifically like for her to be like, oh my God, so noticeably cold,
I mean, I see that. And I also see though that if somebody, whether it was, leading up to the moment or it was in that exact moment that the kid went cold and then the kid got possessed by whatever being or thing might have possessed the kid to say those things. I imagine, if you get immediately possessed, depending on what does it to you, right, and what they're capable of, your body can go cold instantly. Or you can feel cold based on who's possessing you. So yeah, I think it just really depends on that clarity, whether it was a possession, right before the death or things like that, or like you say, if he was dead before. But I just want to say that regardless, I won't be too terribly upset, even if it didn't make complete logical sense, if, it was just as simple as it was, which could be that, yeah, the kid, their powers allowed them to kind of see something, which again, the kid was a precog. So the
Yes.
kid could have seen that. And because the kid had cancer and things like that, that could have effectively rushed his death too. Like I could see that somehow, which could have affected him going cold so quickly too. I mean, you could bullshit it all day. So I won't be too upset because I think the emotional impact was what Gail was going for, and that humanity in that moment to further solidify why Rogue's making the team and why the others are also joining her, even if they're not, on the same complete page as her drive. After that happens, they all kind of just have an understanding on top of that already. And I mean, listen, ever since, X-Men 97, and even before that, like there's been other instances, I'm sure, in media and comics with Rogue, but anytime Rogue like touch like her character, because of her abilities, touch becomes so important. And so when she says something that specific, like, saying that somebody, she can feel them being cold and stuff, that's such a way to draw attention to that moment too with Rogue's character, because we don't pay attention to touch as much with other characters, but with Rogue, we're all eyes, ears, and everything.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Rogue is really like broken up by the kid's death, obviously. And this line like is what really got me. With there's no quiet on earth like the silence after a child dies. Oh, that hit me so hard. And Kurt decides to part ways with them. He wants to stay back and see if he can help Harvey's parents, and because that is a very Kurt thing to do. I'm gonna be real. Like, he wants to do last rites and he wants to help the parents. I'm like, that is so Kurt. But meanwhile, the other three decide to head off to Louisiana to one of Remy's friends. And I love Remy having friends everywhere, because that tracks for me. I mean, granted, Louisiana is where he's from, so he's gonna have a lot of friends there. I just love the idea that he's got like hidey holes everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need somewhere to go and you're in Michigan, he's got a guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a former thief, and not just some low level one, even though he started out that way, I'm sure, but he's got people everywhere, whether anybody wants him to or not. And I do wonder what you think, because I saw some discourse on this with Kurt fans. So people between the last right thing and between the original panel where Rogue hugs Kurt and some joke about him being called father is made. How do you feel if they go back to Kurt being a priest?
I don't want it.
Same. Thank you. Like, I have no problem with him being religious. I have no problem with him being Catholic. I think that's a huge part of who he is. I think that's wonderful. But the priest has got to, we got to throw that out the window, guys. We got to get to a point where if we're going to address this again, that we readdress the fact that he's stepping away from it, because it doesn't make sense completely with who he is. And that's fine. It doesn't make him any less of a Catholic or whatever.
Yeah. I think that Kurt could be the type of religious person who is all about the faith, but not necessarily about the institution, because he's been burned several times by the Catholic Church. I mean, most egregiously, of course, was during the Austen run and during that whole I forget what the name of the arc was, but you know what I'm talking about, where the him becoming a fake mutant pope, and it was all just a thing,
right,
to fool people, and then he would, it was, I don't know, it was supposed to be some kind of thing to bring down the Catholic Church. And Kurt is someone who is so resolute in his faith, and he's a true believer. And there are so many people out there who are like that, you know what I mean, who are of their faith, but they don't necessarily follow the institutions of it anymore, just because they don't believe in where it's gone. And that's how religions splinter too. That's how you go from Christianity becoming Christianity and Catholicism and Protestant and Baptist and all these different splinter groups, right? So yeah, I don't want him to go back to the institution, because I don't think it serves his character, but I don't hate him offering last rites. I think that's such a Kurt thing to do, and you have to consider, because obviously now that we know with the warden and everything going on, the mutant thing has, it's boomeranged. It's gone back the other way. So now people hate mutants again. So,
Right.
Offering something like last rites to a little mutant boy, it could be very important because maybe there's not a priest who would offer last rites to a mutant because of everything that's going on.
Right.
Like that was
Yeah.
that was a massive thing for gay men. I get really into documentaries, and the documentary I watched recently was about the fire, the upstairs lounge fire in New Orleans, and a lot of stuff came out about how many churches refused to take in these gay men who had died, and it's just like we're not asking you to like watch gay sex. We're not even asking you to like that he's gay. Just let him get fucking buried. You know what I mean? It's like he's dead.
Right.
It's kick in the teeth. You know what I mean? After dying in such a horrifying way too. So so I could see that being super meaningful in that way. And then, staying back to help. And that's just a very Kurt thing to do. Like he sees pain and he wants to alleviate it. But that leads to our other three, kind of joining together around the fire and talking about, what is their future and what is going to happen. And Rogue kind of comes to the conclusion that she needs the X-Men, and she thinks that it's important, and it's like this, the X-Men is important,
Right.
And it doesn't matter, all the other things don't matter. Having the mansion doesn't matter, having the X-Jet doesn't matter. What matters is being of service to the people who need them, and that's how she sees it. And I thought that was such a fucking brilliant way to do it, because that is how you sell Kurt on it too. That is 100% how you sell Kurt. And he's been through a fucking lot in the past couple of years, as far as just, being, both, betrayed by mutants, as well as betrayed by humans, as well as betrayed by Orcus, and, all these different things he's gone through. And he left the X-Men to be Spider-Man for a little while just to get out on his own. So like, I don't know necessarily that if anyone went up to him right now and was like, hey dude, we're going to start the X-Men again, let's do it, he'd be like, yeah, let's go. He might be like, he had that whole attitude during Spider-Man where he was just like, don't I deserve to rest? Don't I deserve to have the things that everyone gets? Like, why do I have to be one that has to keep fighting? But if you come to Kurt and say, this is how we can be of greatest service to the people who need it, this is how we can change, it's not about changing the world. It's about changing things for the people around us. And if we can just take care of our backyard, you know what I mean? We don't need to go and, save everybody, but just so we can take care of our backyard. And I think that that's the way you sell it to him. He's in. That was how Jean sold it to him too, during X-Men Red.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I like that they're bringing the idea back. And honestly, it makes sense just logically too. After, before, with Krakoa, it was literally, they believed we had to have this island. We needed to have our own space. This is how we can have our utopia and all this stuff. And now because that is gone, they're going back to the idea of, we don't need one place to be a utopia. We don't need one thing or whatever to represent us or to keep us, who we are. So,
yeah. And David Marquez is the artist again. David, your art is phenomenal. And I love it. So basically, I'm looking at the preview for next week because I wanted to talk about the new mutants we're going to be introduced to. So, they make their decision, I guess we'll do this X-Men thing, or we'll try, we'll at least try to do what we can. But before they really can have like the full conversation and say, yeah, we're going to do it, they hear hooves. And 4 new mutants and a horse show up. And we have to talk about them. Please. I need your opinion. I need your opinion on these. Okay. We're going to talk about them. All right. Well, Daisy, stop it. Sorry, guys. Let's talk about Jitter first. Jitter, who's mutant.
Just ADHD,
yeah, literally her mutant power is ADHD. Okay. Well, thank you guys. I'm a mutant, everybody. I'm a mutant.
Yeah. Right. We're all jitters. I love this.
Yeah. Literally, but it's I'll take it. Let's see what she does. Let's see how she uses her ADHD to make things good. And she's from Singapore, and I love Singapore, so it's a great place. So she also, the thing about her too is like there's this thing where she says she keeps a stopwatch on her at all times, so she never has to slow down, not even to sleep. So I wonder if we're gonna get like Pietro vibes from her, because one of the things about Pietro is like he's such a dick because like everybody is moving in slow motion around him, and he's just really impatient. So I wonder if she kind of has a similar vibe. Next, we'll talk about Death Dream. What do you think about Death Dream? This is the guy, the ghost summoning guy. Did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I'm good. Sorry, I keep having to move because my back gets uncomfortable, and then my stupid dongle decides to be an asshole.
Man, fucking dongles.
Seriously, just guys. I don't know why we went through this period where we decided laptops don't need all the ports in them, but like, come the fuck on.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so Death Dream, who is from Japan, so definitely not Harvey. Oh my god, I do not like his background at all. Died during childbirth and then was resuscitated.
Yeah, that's some dark shit. I don't know. I can't help but wonder, and maybe I'm out of line for this, but earlier when we were talking about people saying, "Oh, the person's got to be Xavier," like, what if it was somebody like Cassandra Nova? Because that would totally make line like having a character like that, and then character like this new one you're talking about, like kind of in like interacting with each other at least, like kind of makes sense.
I mean, it could be. But also, okay, so I'm looking at the preview for the next issue, which is does not have any letters on it. It's just the art. And they do show a redheaded prisoner, but I don't know if it's the same prisoner that we were already talking about. So I don't know. We'll figure it out when this comes out, I guess. But Death Dream, okay. As a teen, he is able to choose the state of life or one of death at will. Okay. I stopped reading there at first and I thought to myself, so like he just can either be alive or dead. So what, he just dies, like just lays there. But no, he's a zombie. He becomes a zombie. And I gotta be honest, I kind of have been waiting for like a good character with ghost powers, because I think ghost powers would be fun. I think there was one a while ago. There was like, I forget what her name was. I feel like there was one a while ago, a ghost power girl. And then there was Dead Girl from Ecstatics. But like, I want like ghost powers. Like, he can conjure the ghost of like anybody, you know? It's like you have a bet and you're like, I bet you Einstein did this. And they're like, no way. And it's like, oh, let's find out and ask him. That would be how I would use my ghost powers. So, all right. So next we'll talk about Ransom, who has a black hole heart, which I mean, I know people like that.
Yeah, there's always people like that.
Yeah, he's from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I love Argentina. And he was abandoned, and he was abandoned by his parents after he was kidnapped and held for ransom. Oh my god. So basically, from what I'm getting from this is like he was kidnapped, and the guys were like, "Okay, we want $2 million," and his parents were like, "Keep him." And like, wait, we'll take $1 million. Like, no, let's keep him. All right, well, like 250,000 maybe. And no, we don't want him. Thank you for taking him. So poor Ransom. And finally, we're going to talk about my favorite one, Calico, aka the most basic white girl character that has ever been written in the history of basic white girl characters. I mean, her mutant power is her horse. What is that? I'm obsessed.
Is she She-Ra? Because if so, I'm on board.
Oh my god, She-Ra.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of in Avatar, how like they all have like that special connection with their flying thing, pterodactyl. Like she has got some special connection with the horse, but like, I'm sorry, it's like you gave me a white girl with blonde hair and her she's got horse powers. That is so freaking amazing and so on the nose. Yeah. Horse girl powers. I'm obsessed. I can't wait to see what she does. I mean, so we've got some interesting characters coming up. I mean, Deathstream, I'm excited about Deathstream too, because like I said, I'm loving the idea of summoning ghosts. And then let's find out about Jitter and Ransom, the black hole heart. That's the only thing I really like. Okay, he's got a black hole heart, but like, what does that mean for him? Like,
I think it's intentional to make us wonder.
yeah, I guess so, because it's like, is he like Chamber, where he's got like this weird like hole in his chest, literally, and it's just, you know, can suck things in, or Abyss is like that. Abyss can like suck things into himself. Or is it like, I don't know. We'll find out. So, and of course, you know, Jitter, ADHD, the only girl, the only mutant who can be defeated by a prescription.
Yeah, fucking facts. Like any prescription.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you all for joining us again on another fabulous episode of Simply Amazing about Uncanny X-Men #1. Our lovely Gail Simone, fan of the pod. We're going to just say it because why not? She's out there, hopefully listening. If you are, we love you. But yeah, it was a great issue. I think it was a good start.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was very much setting up for more to come. But I'm excited, and I really hope that we see, you know, Kurt more in his own light, and he doesn't get trapped in the priest stuff again, or honestly trapped in the religious stuff in general. Again, I have no issue with him being religious or Catholic, but like in Krakoa for a while, the religious aspect of him, they kind of let that define him, and they made him like zealous, in my opinion, and I don't want that either. I want him to be Kurt. I want him to go on these adventures with these peeps, have a good time, bring the family drama. Mistaken Destiny, y'all better show up at some point. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I think also this is the first time Gail is writing a lot of these characters, officially writing a lot of these characters.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if she's written them on her own, like her own little cachet of fanfic, which Gail, if you have a cachet of fanfic, please, I would love to read it. But so, and I think one of the things when you're writing a character for the first time, it's like she's trying to establish what she knows of the character, and like, you know, what she intends to represent of the character. So, you know, I think that's her just kind of nodding and saying, yeah, he's Catholic and he's going to be Catholic in the issue. Yeah, I'm going to write him that way, but not necessarily like, I didn't get any vibes of like, we're going to be going down the priest route again. So don't prove me wrong, Gail.
I was going to say, Gail, we're rooting for you as always.
Of course. Yeah. Well, guys, again, thank you for joining us. It has been a wonderful time talking about Uncanny X-Men, and we've got some other stuff coming up down the pike. We're going to be having some guests in the couple coming soon, and other fun stuff. So, you know, we're excited. I hope you're excited too. And we got more Uncanny X-Men coming. I mean, we're going to be covering every issue basically as it comes out. We'll probably get back to reading Exiles again. You know, any chance for me to talk about my girl, I'm going to do it. So. Well, guys, if you like us, subscribe, listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts, whether on Apple or YouTube, or, I mean, I don't even know what has podcasts anymore because I just like have it. Oh, we're on Spotify.
They start moving shit too, man. They're like, this is closing. I'm like, what the fuck, man?
No, don't close anything. Just keep everything open. Just So, Lauren, where can they find you?
Mostly on Twitter at friendly MBHTBI, but I have other links there if you want to bother me.
That's true. Yeah, I'm on Twitter too. I'm mostly talking about Real Housewives recently because, you know, sorry about it. It's just it's the end of an era. What can you say? Yeah, but you can find us at simplyamazingpod.com. That will have all of our links to all of our socials on Twitter, Blue Sky. I don't know, we're on all of it, but Twitter is where we're mostly at. I feel like we're gonna eventually figure out where else we're gonna go because Twitter is really it's just not doing good. It's not doing good. Yeah, but come find us and talk to us and let us know what you thought about Uncanny X-Men #1 because we'd love to hear about it. Tell us what you've loved. And yeah, if you are out there listening and you lost both of your eyes, well, I mean, that's what you get for attacking people that you just met who are just there to like hang out in Mexico. But it doesn't matter because you're still be amazing.